Well, that didn't take long. Just like that, the Cowboys have a new defensive coordinator. In a moment, I'll tell you why who they hired doesn't matter if they don't fix this issue. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, thanks for checking out today's video. If you feel inclined, hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way you're always notified when I post a new video. Today's video is brought to you by betonline.ag. Betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. On Monday, the Cowboys made former Atlanta Falcons head coach Dan Quinn their new defensive coordinator on a 3-year contract. The same 3-year contract that Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, just signed, which puts them 1 year shy of the number of years that Mike McCarthy is lined up for. Hopefully over the next couple of years, those guys will receive extensions for what they've done, or even head coaching jobs potentially elsewhere. Time will tell. But look, with Quinn, it's well documented, right? He was the head coach of Atlanta. They didn't have great defenses when he was there. Prior to that, he was with Seattle with a couple of different stints with an opportunity for the Florida Gators in between them. He presided over some really good defenses, the Legion of Boom in Seattle, one of the great defenses in the history of the National Football League, and in Florida as well for the Florida Gators, before returning to Seattle for 1 year and then taking over as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Again, average to below average defenses his entire time in Atlanta. So how much can we judge the output for his Atlanta teams given that he was the head coach? I mean, certainly some of that has to be taken into account. But a big piece of the success that he had in Seattle versus the failures he had at Atlanta have a lot to do with the players that they drafted. The Atlanta Falcons defensively were an absolute mess and continually drafted players high up that were not able to be consistent performers for them. They didn't draft well, especially early on the defensive side of the football. And that's a big reason why Thomas Dimitroff is out of a job in Atlanta too. Certainly, you want to put some of the responsibility for drafting players on the head coach and then developing those players on the head coach as well. So this isn't an unblemished coaching record that we're discussing here. But as I said on a previous video, Mike Nolan, Dan Quinn, the schemes that they run, all of this is dependent upon the personnel and the players that they have to fulfill that scheme. Do the Cowboys have a bad scheme in 2020, or do they have bad players? It's probably a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B, right? Maybe more so from the player standpoint than it was from the scheme standpoint. The bottom line here is the best way for this Cowboys team to improve their defense dramatically is by putting a heavy commitment on the defensive side of the football in the draft and maybe dabbling in free agency as well, especially to help fortify that safety position, which could take years of development in the back end of a defense. Now look, Dan Quinn is known as a 4-3 coach, and certainly he'll bring some of the 4-3 principles to the Cowboys, but I would imagine for the most part, this defense is going to stay the same. I think the issue with the Cowboys and Mike Nolan was the players didn't respond well to Mike Nolan for whatever reason, and he wasn't able to teach them the things that he needed them to do. I don't think that the Cowboys view the issues they had on defense as being scheme related so much as it was, one, personnel, which they obviously know, and two, the teacher, the person teaching the players. Look, if you talk to anybody that knows Dan Quinn, he'll tell you the same thing. This is a dude that has the ear of that locker room. This is a guy that is a really good guy that is going to connect with those players, and this is going to be one of the hardest working guys in that room. Guy that's well liked by the players and works hard. Now, those are things you can work with. Again, the Cowboys aren't going to change much schematically. As with most NFL teams, they're going to be a little bit of a 4-3, a little bit of a 3-4, and they're going to have a hybrid look there, and they're going to continue to do that. This is certainly a good move from a standpoint of there's a new teacher in the classroom to help the development of some of these young defensive players. But beyond that, the success of this defensive unit isn't about who they hire as defensive coordinator. It's not. It's about what they do to overcome their personnel deficiencies on the defensive side of the football. Period. Sometimes coaches get far too much blame when things go wrong. In this case, I certainly feel like Mike Nolan shouldered far too much blame for the failures of this defense. Failures very much at the core of the Cowboys' personnel issues. The Cowboys have a personnel problem on defense. Don't let that escape you with this hire. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys don't need to have an elite defense. They need to have an average defense. But that road from being dead last in the National Football League in most defensive metrics to being average starts with the hiring of Dan Quinn on Monday. But it continues with a commitment to improving this defense dramatically this offseason, both through the draft and in free agency. This is going to be a very fun and entertaining offseason, so buckle up. Make sure that you're in the know of all the latest Cowboys news and insights. Hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way you're always notified when I post a new video. Today's video has been brought to you by betonline.ag. Betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.